Welcome back, Troglodytes, to another episode of Trogly's Guitars. Today we're going to learn a little bit about this little rare Norland-era Gibson Les Paul Custom. This is the Les Paul Brazilian Rosewood Top Custom. Depending on what source you read, there's anywhere between 50 to around 62 of these in existence. What makes this guitar special is, implied in its name, the Brazilian Rosewood Top. Other than that, this guitar is pretty much the same as any other run-of-the-mill Les Paul Custom, but these are very great collector's items, so I hope you enjoy this rare opportunity to take a look inside this guitar. The Brazilian Rosewood Custom has a headstock similar to any other mid-70s Gibson. Notice the lack of the dot in the eye. We'll take a quick look at the truss rod cover here, same as any other Les Paul Custom of the era. The neck is still made of mahogany. 75 into 76 is kind of a transition period into the maple necks. The nut appears to be made of bone. The frets and ebony fretboard were just cleaned and conditioned, so they are in great shape on this example. You kind of have the slightly narrower frets on this model yet. They're not quite to that low and wide stage yet. The pickups are nothing different either. It's just your typical patent number T tops. These are before the date stamps being put on the back. I believe it's 77, 76 when they start doing that. The neck tenon is kind of interesting on these. I believe this is what they consider the transitional tenon, where it's not quite a long tenon and it's not quite a short tenon, but you can see it looks like it was routed for a long tenon. Something cool is you can see a date stamp here on the very end of the neck. It reads September 9th of 1975. So very cool piece of transitional history there in the neck pocket. The bridge pocket, nothing really too exciting to see. Now when they call these a Brazilian Rosewood Top Les Paul, they mean it. That's not just like a laminate, thin, quarter-inch sheet of Brazilian rosewood on this thing. It's just about a full inch thick. Just imagine how many fretboards they could have made out of these tops. But they decided to make 50 or so very special customs. So the Brazilian Rosewood Top instead of the maple top is really what makes these guitars what they are. Brazilian Rosewood is always beautiful, and I particularly really love the bass side of this guitar. It's very rich in wood grain, and I especially love this part. It kind of looks like a little bat or a face. It could almost be like a little mole. You see his two eyes and his face, and that's kind of his body. That's kind of cool. I really love that part of the guitar. But it looks like, it's a 1, 2, 3 piece here. You can see that's the one piece here, second one here, and then the third one kind of ends right there. So you kind of got a little bit of a discoloration in that area. Just, not because it's aged differently, just because the wood was a different color to begin with. You can see there is a very small ding there from where the pickguard rests. But overall, the Brazilian Rosewood Custom, this is why you're buying it. This is why they're so expensive. Brazilian Rosewood is what was used for the fretboards of many of the early Gibsons, including the Burst. But just because it's the Brazilian Rosewood Custom, that's only referring to the top. That is not referring to the fretboard. The fretboards are still ebony. Here's what she looks like with her pickguard back on. You can see this example has some polishing scratches and whatnot, but overall it's in pretty good shape. Bridge for these customs are still an ABR1. Once again, late 75 into 76 was kind of a transition year into the Nashville bridge, but yours should say Gibson with the patent number underneath it, which is 2740313. The tailpiece is nothing special either. It's just your standard gold tailpiece. And it's not lightweight or anything, it's full weight. 74/75 is kind of the last time you see these knobs on a Les Paul Custom. These are popularly referred to as witch hat knobs due to their witch hat-like shape. They have the Kluson waffle back tuners, which are probably the classiest tuners that have ever been made. The neck of these Brazilian Rosewoods is a 3-piece mahogany. They kind of have 60s to 60s medium profiles, but the back of the guitar is a much lighter color than the front. This one has a 2-piece back. It looks like a 1-piece, but you can kind of see the line that goes right down there. But once again, no dark mahogany stain or anything. It's a very light mahogany color. It contrasts with the top very nicely, but still, I kind of wish they would have done a special finish on the back of these. These were made in the era of the pancake bodies, which basically is a sandwich where they put an extra, I believe it's a little slab of maple in between. This process did not cut costs, and it is actually more expensive to do because they were trying to make a better guitar. However, a lot of people don't like these pancake bodies because sometimes they can delaminate a little bit and you can start seeing a line of separation. Luckily, this example has nothing of that to really make note of, but it does have the pancake body, which is a cool feature of the mid-70s. Inside the control cavity is kind of a nice little treat here, because usually you see a maple top exposed, but this time you see the Brazilian rosewood down here. So that is very interesting. It's kind of like a chocolate ice cream sandwich. You can see here where that pancake body is as well. That small layer right there. This one appears to be wired up 50 style, and it does have the original pots. You can see there's a lot of dust and buildup on them, but that one does have codes that are readable. There is no shielding plate or shielding tin that started, I believe, a year after this. In the three-way switch cavity, it's a little harder to see the Brazilian rosewood top exposed, but it is there. I hope you enjoyed this inside look at this very rare Brazilian rosewood top Les Paul Custom from 1975. These are very rare guitars, and I make these inside look series because, let's face it, not everybody has the means to actually own one of these, or you're very lucky just to even see one of these in person, even if you frequent guitar shows constantly. So I hope you enjoyed this inside look, and now you know whether this helps you verify that yours is original, or if it's just a way for you to live vicariously looking at such a beautiful guitar. The only thing left now is to hear how she sounds. The cleans will be running through a Gibson Super Gold Tone GA30RV. The dirty tones come from a Marshall JMP 1C.